Hi, and welcome to Nini's house. We are back in the craft room today, and we're going to make this cute banner to cozy up our little cabin for fall. I'm using more of the old quilt that I used to make my pumpkin from, and it's really stained, it's torn. This is it in its original state, but I did wash it. I figured that I couldn't do it any more harm, so I just washed it in the washing machine with some regular detergent and some OxyClean. And a lot of that grime is gone. It's still stained, but it didn't tear it up any worse. I wanted to use different fall shapes for my banner, so I just drew them up myself. But I'm sure you can find some patterns on Pinterest, or if you want to email me, I will send you some copies of my little patterns. I drew out 4 shapes: a pumpkin, an acorn, and 2 different leaves. And I'm going to cut 2 of each, I believe, from different sections of the quilt. I'm going to cut out the leaves from this little section that has the tiny brown flowers on it. I started out using a purple air erase marker to trace around my pattern, but it was really hard to see. I had to do it about 3 times before I could see it. So you will see me switch to the blue water erase marker. Here you can see that even after going over it 3 times, it was still really hard to see. So I just switched to the blue one, and it worked out much better. And in the end, the purple one did not dissolve in the air anyway, and I had to wash it out too. So it was no better to try to use the purple one. After I cut out my shapes, I noticed that the quilt top was actually put on top of another quilt top. I guess the old quilt had been heavily damaged, so they just added a new top to it. And it has this lovely brown check fabric underneath. I wished I had been able to make the leaves out of that. So I'm moving on to the acorn and the pumpkin, and I'm going to cut 2 of each out of some section of this quilt. I do know that I want to use that pretty brown and gray piece over on the left side, but first I'm going to try here and see if I can pull off some of this new quilt top to get to the old one and use some of that brown check for the acorns. And while I was doing that, I discovered this really cute orange and white daisy print. Hopefully I can find enough of that to use for the pumpkins. And you can see here just how badly damaged that old quilt top was. But I did find enough of the brown and white check, and it's in good enough shape to use it for 2 acorns. I know from here it looks like it's hard to see the blue marks, but it's not. I can see them just fine. Now I'm going to cut out the acorns and move on to the pumpkins. While I was looking around for a place to cut the pumpkins from, I found this cute orange plaid. And I'm wondering if there's enough room to cut a pumpkin from this. So I decided to tear back some of the top fabric again and see just how much of that orange plaid I can find. And I think I found at least enough to make part of the pumpkin from the orange. This quilt is not very colorful. It's a lot of browns and beiges, so it would be nice to have a little bit of color in my banner. And I believe I like my pumpkin here, so I'm tracing it again with the blue pen. only the blue is not going to show up on the black fabric. So I decided to use a piece of chalk, and that worked great. Now I have my pumpkin cut out and one acorn. I'm going to cut out another acorn, and then I'm also going to cut out another pumpkin and another one of the large leaves. My iPad has been acting up and I seem to have lost some footage, but you will see all of the pieces here in a moment. I want to stitch around the pieces to give them a little more detail to help them sort of stand out. I'm trying to decide on what color thread. I don't have any brown thread for some reason. I have this beige that I guess I'll use on the acorns and the leaves. I have the orange for the pumpkin, and I have that green. I also have the blue that I could use on this piece if necessary, but I probably won't. I'm going to stitch around the outside edges of this first leaf and then through the middle where the veins would be. And here's what the first leaf looks like. I don't know if you can see the veins in there, but they are there. I'm using the same thread to stitch around the outside of the acorn, and then I will stitch across where the bottom of the acorn cap would be. And I'm also going to make a few lines from the top down to the bottom of the acorn cap, just to add a little bit more detail. Next is this large leaf. I guess it's a maple leaf, and I'm stitching straight down from the top to the bottom, and then I'm going to stitch the veins coming off from the middle out to the edges. And here's what it looks like. I didn't stitch all around the outer edges on this one, just the veins. Now for the pumpkin, I am using the orange thread, and I'm stitching a sort of a wavy stitch all around the outer edge. I don't know the technical name for it, but it's really pretty. You can see it right there. And then I'm going to stitch from the top to the bottom to form the ribs. And I did that 5 times. 2 on each side and 1 down the middle. And here's what my pumpkin looks like. Now that I've got them all stitched, I'm ready to make my banner. I'm going to use the same twine that I used on my pumpkin so that my decorations will coordinate. I know that for the space that I want to put my banner in, I need 86 inches of twine. That includes allowing enough twine to tie a bow on the ends. First, I'm going to find the middle of my twine and decide which piece I want to go exactly in the middle. And it's going to be this leaf here because I have only one of these leaves. Before I attach anything permanently to the twine, I'm going to clip it with these little clips. And this leaf is in the middle, and I'm going to decide just how far apart I want to space them. Now where I'm going to put my banner is not a very large area, so I'm going to keep my pieces close together. This is the other pumpkin that I cut out. I didn't show you that one. But I'm going to put a pumpkin on each side of this leaf, and I like this spacing here. It's about 6 inches apart on each side. So I'm going to clip them into place. I'm just going to keep adding my little pumpkins and leaves and acorns at 6 inches apart until I have them all on my twine, and here they are. Now it's cute like this, but it's a little plain, so I think I will add like a little loop hanging down between each section to maybe add a little more interest. Something like this. But it still looks a little plain, so maybe if I add a bead right here to the bottom piece of twine. I found these in my stash, and they have a hole big enough for the twine to go through. But the problem is I only have 4 and I need 6. And I would really like something a little more colorful. So I also have these in my stash, which came from the Dollar Tree. They originally were white. I painted a few of them this flesh color because I use them as noses when I make little gnomes. So I think I'll use some of these and maybe paint them orange so they look like pumpkins and add a little color to my banner. That worked out nicely. They're really cute, and so now I'm just going to add them to that bottom string. They thread easily onto the twine, and I'm going to add all 6 onto the string before I start putting things together. Now I'm ready to go. I have my excess string hanging off the side, and I'm clipping both pieces of twine together, and I'm leaving about 8 inches of twine between each cutout so that I'll have that little loop hanging down. I've done that all the way through. 8 inches in between each one. Now I'm going to flip all the cutouts over, and I'm just going to attach my twine with hot glue. You could stitch it down with your sewing machine or with a needle and thread, but I'm just going to do it with hot glue. And you want to make sure that your twine does not get twisted. You want to keep the straight one on top and the loopy one on the bottom. And I'm using just a little silicone thing on the tip of my finger so I can touch the hot glue without burning myself. I got that at the Dollar Tree also. I'm all done, and as soon as it cools off, I'll hang it up and bring you back to show you how it looks in my little cabin. Here we are. It's hanging right above my little tiny couch. Everything in our cabin is tiny. And over to the right, you will see the little pumpkin that I made from the same quilt in the last video. And I'll have that video linked at the end of this one and also down below in case you'd like to check it out. Thanks so much for visiting. Come back soon.